is, it's been, I think, a good growing year. Getting kind of dicey now with mildew. I just pulled out a bunch of daisy fleabane that looked terrible and said, okay, you guys can start over again. And I put a lot of sticks on. I tell you, I pick up more sticks off the lawn. I never lived in a yard with this many trees. I gardened in a lot of yards with a lot of trees, but I never was the one that was always walking through the yard and finding yet another 20 sticks to pick up from things that fell out. And I suspect our squirrels are chewing off the ends of things because some of them are not just dead, brittle sticks. They're greenery laying around on the lawn. And when the lawn is underneath trees, it's already got enough trouble. It doesn't need to have stuff laying on top of it. Even underneath oaks. Wow. Ours are locust and a bunch of evergreens. We got spruce and pine back there. And I guess there's a fir back there too. But for the most part, it's the big locust. And I always think of oaks as being tougher than that. Although I do see, yeah, that's right, because right about now, the oak, what is it called? Petiole stalk borers. The insects that live, they hatch when the tree is leafing out, and then they eat the inside of the petiole that attaches the leaf to the stem, and little clusters of leaves will come down with the larvae of those things in them. And if you have oaks and you want to keep the numbers down, you have to pick up those things and throw them away or hot compost them, because the larvae are in there and just going to emerge from there. Julia is connected and it all looked good, and she is going to be back at 7. So if there are any questions that anyone has that you'd like to get talking about, we're going to start off at 7 with Julia Hofley's tour through the garden, so she can do that while the light is still best. So we can do questions now, and we'll do questions after she walks us through the yard. So if you've got questions, now's a good time to talk about them.
I can just talk, Janet?
Yes, you can. Is that Sonia?
Oh, yeah, yes, that's me, Janet.
Yeah, yeah, you can. Yep, your microphone is on, so as long as it's on and we're in this. So what do you have a question about?
Do you know if they ever came up with something about them tiny little worms in the raspberries?
Yes, there are little worms, little larvae that get into the raspberries. Yes, indeed.
They are the first ones I've seen was the beginning of this last week, because I take each and every one apart before I eat them.
Yeah.
So, and it used to be, they said, well, the only thing you could do would be put a net over the whole thing.
Well, it has to be a net small enough that these little insects that are laying the eggs in there, it's a type of fly. I think it's actually technically a grub that's in there. I think they're laying their eggs as the plant is flowering, and they lay it into the part that develops into the fruit, into the ovary, and it develops afterwards. So you'd have to have something small enough, like floating row cover, to keep insects out, or they spray for them, or you put them all in a ice cold water bath and float them out of there. Well, I remember my dad coming by one day and looking at a bowl full of fruit that the kids and I, my sisters and brothers and I had picked, and we were sitting and eating it. And he was coming home from work and he picked up one of the fruit and he cut it open with his little knife and he looked at it and went, "Huh," and went inside, and he probably saw that there were grubs in there and thought, "Well, that's good, a little more protein for the kids, you know." Yeah.
So Papa and Grandma's apricot tree, they never sprayed it, so almost every apricot had a worm in it, but you just went around it.
Yeah.
And if you got it, oh well.
Yeah. So
it was easier in the apricots than in the raspberries to see them, because they are so small.
Yep, they are small, and soaking them in water so that they float to the top it's not quite as effective as soaking them in salt water, and you don't want to soak raspberries in salt water. That's what we used to do with the broccoli and the cauliflower. So did you pull out your cucumbers then, Sonia? Sonia sent these pictures earlier this week. This spot on the leaves of her cucumber, that's anthracnose. It's a fungus. And it's been in the leaf eating it, and it has that distinctive pattern of killing the place where it's eating and moving outward, making the leaf yellow, and it tends to stay between the veins. So you get this kind of pattern where it stays between the veins. And if you just take off the leaves, just every leaf that has a spot on it, and not waiting until they get like this, but any spot on it, like there's developing spots on this one. If you keep taking those off, you can grow with anthracnose, but if you don't take them off, you're going to have a lot of damaged leaves. Sometimes it'll damage the fruit, but mostly what it does is it drains the energy of the plant. This other pattern, where the leaf is browning out here, and you see that kind of mosaic pattern in there. I was afraid that was a virus, but that's downy mildew, and it's working on the underside of the leaf. And unlike powdery mildew, it doesn't produce a white coating on the top of the leaf. So what'd you do, Sonia? Did you decide to fight it, or?
I ripped all the leaves off and I sprayed them, but it said you should saturate them. And the spray from the bottle didn't come out in a fine spray. It came out more in a stream.
In a jet. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, so I just could not get the whole leaves on both sides saturated. So I don't know what they look like tomorrow.
Well, I guess you're going to be our test case. We'll check and see.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'll click your microphone and you can turn it off now. I'm turning it off from here. And we'll see if there's any other questions before 7. We're starting with, at 7, we're going to let Julia Hofley have the floor so that she can take us outside in the good light for her garden tour. So if you have any burning questions, we can do those now in this next 5 minutes. Or we can take them after Julia gets started. But at 7, we're going to move right into Julia's talk.
Yep, nothing in the chat so far.
Okay. Then I will tell you that following up from last week, we were asking about cutting back geraniums, perennial geraniums. Can you cut them back? And yes, they can still be cut. These pictures are from June that I took one year and put in an article, but these are the one of the types of geraniums where the flowers stand well above the plant. Most of the foliage is down here and about double the height in flower stalks. That they'd be the Johnson's blue and crosses with the Himalayansi, and include things like what's her name out front in the patio? See, Roseanne. So you go down and you're cutting the flower stalks all the way off at the bottom, which is a pain in the butt to get down in there in the leaves and cut them off. But the stems of those flowers are going to die back anyway and look brown and look awful. So you want to cut those out. The earlier you do it, the better. If it's just finished blooming and you're not liking it anymore, you can then just cut the whole thing, because it's growing new leaves. See the new ones coming that way down here? It's going to grow all new leaves. So when I cut it back in June, probably about the 3rd week of June, I cut that much out and left them with just the leaves that were up. But if I'd cut them earlier, I would have gotten those leaves anyway and wouldn't have had to work around them. But if I don't cut perennial geraniums back that bloom that way, they're going to get new foliage and abandon all of that they grew already, and they look like this later on. And that's even harder to get out of there. So it's a good idea to cut them back if you're growing them in a controlled garden. And that's the pictures and the explanation are if you go to Garden A to Z and you did cut back geraniums or cut flowers, or if you wanted to know that it was what's up 184. You could go to the ensemble editions and just pick number 184 and you'd go there.
Therese has a hand raised.
Go for it, Therese.
Hi, I was just wondering, at the garden walk in Clarkston on Wednesday, I saw a product that was called Pebble and Mulch Glue.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever worked with that on the paths?
I have seen it. And Sonia and Cam put it on their path when they refilled between their stepping stones. They took up their stepping stones, weeded everything out, and put the stones back down again. And I have seen it. I don't like the look of it as much as just the stones, but it does seem to work. We first met it in Massachusetts when a landscape company at one of the professional conferences, we were talking with him and he pointed us toward a project where they put that in about 10 years ago, walking along a river bank, and it was holding up pretty well.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was on my path, I have the pebbles, and when I blow the path off or I rake it, I'm always getting my pebbles and whatnot. So I thought I would just give that a try. So thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to tell you about petunias, even if nobody's going to ask, because every time I turn around, somebody's asking about petunias and why they look leggy. This is how a lot of people deadhead petunias. They grab the spent flower and pull it off. If you do that, you just get the petals and you have left the business end of the flower here, which if it's been pollinated, if those petals have crumpled up and are going away, if it's been pollinated, that's going to become a seed, and you don't want to leave the seeds. You want to leave these. See this little guy right here with the little 5 leaflets around it? That's a bud. That's new growth, a whole new flowering stem coming. This with the big leaves, that's not because it's closer to you, they are bigger. That's a developing seed, and there it is in the center. And there's a bud, flower bud. And the closer it gets to ripening, the more it controls the growth of the plant, and the plant goes more and puts more of its starches and carbohydrates into the seed than anything else. There are some flowers that are mules. They don't create seed, but petunias are not one of those. And I know a lot of people don't like to pull, like to snap off the whole flower with a stem behind it, because you can see the sticky little resin that's on the leaves. It's a great protection for the petunias from crawling insects who have a heck of a time getting through that. But what you want is not to have a bunch of these developing seeds. You almost always have them below where the flowers are. They're down there, and you need to pinch that off or clip it off. And if you look at John's petunia, he's asking me about it. See that there's no big leaves anywhere on that stem. This flowering stem has been flowering for so long. The seeds, there's one here, 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 here. Those seeds are in control, as opposed to one that we've deadheaded occasionally through the summer that's still got big leaves and doesn't look so leggy. And then we can go and clip off where you can see the developing seeds behind the flowers. So we will get started, but I will feel a little bit better that maybe a few more people will do petunias more accurately. Okay, we'll go over to start with Julia. I'm remembering to hit the numbers. Look, Steve. Ta-da. Go for it.
Good evening and welcome to Free4All Friday, number 13.
Yeah.
And with us tonight will be Julia Hofley.
There she is, walking in her garden already. Everybody's welcome to these, and we're celebrating growing, and we also cultivate problem solving here. This is gardenatozz.org, and we have asked everyone to please keep your microphone muted and your camera off so that we don't have too much chaos. Although
raise your hand if you have a question or type it in the chat. Right.
So your microphone and camera should be slashed like you see here. And in participants, there's a raise hand. We'll stop. When Julia gets by a bench, we'll say, okay, Julia, you can sit for a minute. We'll see if there's any questions about what you just did. And if you raise your hand, you'll pop to the top of the list. Steve will click the button to ask you to unmute, and bingo, you can talk your question. And the raise hand is either in participants or it's in reactions. It's someplace down there. You'll find it. And chat. When you chat to everyone. Don't chat to Steve. Don't chat to Janet. Don't chat to Julia. Do it to everyone, because that's the chat that Steve is watching and where we're putting answers. And
you're allowed to individually chat yourselves.
Sure.
Say if Nancy wanted to talk to Greg, they could do it in that form.
Right, but keep those general questions to everyone. And remember that when you hit return, your question pops up into chat. If you have a long question, don't hit return, because your question will get broken up between other people's chat, and sometimes it's hard to figure out how to put them back together again. So there we are, Free4All Friday, our 13th episode here. And you know me, I'm Janet.
I'm Stephen.
You know Stephen. And you know that we've got the website so that we can accumulate all the things we've written over the years, and so that we can have fun continuing to talk to people, even though we've retired from gardening professionally ourselves. And we started the Free4All Fridays because we just felt a little cut off from people. And it's nice to have a place where we can go every Friday and know that there'll be people there who want to talk gardens. Now we're going to turn over to Julia Hofley, who we introduced during our webinar about entertaining in the garden. Julia is garden royalty, as she was described by somebody who gave us a critique of the webinar. And she has probably thrown more parties in her garden than we'll ever throw in our lifetime. She also encouraged us, just by talking about entertaining the garden, she encouraged us to start the garden tour that we've invited the webinar subscribers to. And you webinar subscribers, you too can be there. We're not going to do something special for having people over. We're not going to build a new gazebo. We're not going to redo the paths. We will wipe the chairs off. We'll follow Julia's checklist for entertaining, but you don't have to gussy up your garden. Every garden has something to learn from. So Julia, we'll let you take it away, and we'll show people where you are. This is Julia Hofley's Julia and Eric Hofley's property. The road is out here, and their driveway is right here. Julia is going to start at her entry at her front door. Across from the front door, she's got a courtyard, but she's going to probably head over and go up this wonderful hill they have where you can switch back up the hill and do the overlook. So Julia, it is all yours. Show us your garden. Everybody was anxious to see it.
All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our garden. Eric is here with me tonight. Come on over, Eric, and say hi.
Oh, cool. Hi, Eric.
Eric is here. And there's Eric. Oh, there's Eric.
Oh, we got him away from pruning. That man is a pruning wizard. Yes.
Edward Scissorhands. That's what he is. He really is. So this is our front courtyard entrance to our home, and we have a circular driveway. So I just did a talk for the Master Gardeners, and I talked about creating an unforgettable entrance to your home. And I switch this out every single year. I have a lot of fun with it. And the boxwood and the columns make it a perfect backdrop with this pretty brick. And I have more fun in this area. It's a little heat zone. And this is where I like to spend my mornings. And it's also a hummingbird hideout in here. You can come out here and sit and have your coffee in the morning, and it is one busy highway of hummingbird action. I love it. And I'll just show you some of my choice plants in the area. I did a lot of silver. This is the new Senecio, which is a Dusty Miller, and it is called Winter Whispers. Look how big they are. They're very, and they're gorgeous. And then there's all kinds of plants we've written about in Michigan Gardener over the years. Here's a new dark-leafed hydrangea in bloom. Look at this gorgeous lamb's ear, and give you a name on that. That is called Angel Wings. We wrote about that in Michigan Gardener. This is called Snow Owl. This is your old-fashioned Silver Mountain Artemisia. This is another one back here. That's a different one. So I really focusing on a lot of different silver plants because they pop. They're drought tolerant. They make all these dark colors I chose this year, my lineup, stand out. And also, rabbits and deer do not eat silver plants, in my experience. So what you're going to hear, and that matters to me because we have 1 acre. Here's when you come out the front door, how it looks. And they're easier to care for. And this year I'm going to try to overwinter them in pots in the garage and see if they make it. So then we have a little corner up here, which has a fountain, and where my office is, and a nice window box. And I love that. But this is a heavy area for our access to our hoses. And you can see how many pots there are. I'm a terracotta person. I was a terracotta buyer at Goldner Walsh for 10 years. I bought all the pottery and ironware, all the art and plants for the garden center. But traveling around the world and collecting pottery is why I have so many. I call myself your classic pothead because I love pottery and I haven't changed since I left there, which has been over 10 years. But in my pots, at the bottom of them, I put a piece of, I grabbed it. This is weed cloth. So I cut it to the size of my hole, just a little bit bigger, and I place it in the bottom of each pot. or most pots, particularly the big pots. And then I sprinkle some cinnamon or put a cinnamon stick in. Here's cinnamon, ground cinnamon in the bottom. And then I put my soil in. And the reason why I do that is on plants that I'm going to know ahead that I'm going to overwinter, like my crotons, for example, I will overwinter those and other plants. I want to bring them in. So I usually don't bring them in their terracotta pots because they're too heavy for me to lift and move to store. So I pull them out and put them back in my plastic pots that they came in, or bigger pots that we have. I save all our plastic pots and reuse them over and over and over again. But the reason I do that and do the cinnamon trick is that it keeps ants and many pill bugs and other bugs out from inside my pots of the particular ones that I want to overwinter. And it seems to have worked. So my niece told me about cinnamon and ants when she was about 8 years old. She had heard it at school. And I had an ant hill here along this path. And we were walking along and she said, hey, you know, it was a big old mound here and we were about to sit down on this bench. And she said, well, let's see if the cinnamon works that I heard about at school. So that's what we did. We put it over the top. So my main goal was not to get rid of the ants, but just to move them from where I wanted to be. So when I'm entertaining, I wanted to let you know that if you have a sudden breakout of ants on your patio, because sometimes they just come up in a swarm out of nowhere, like in your mailbox, cinnamon sticks are excellent in your mailbox for getting rid of ants or other places that you don't want them to be. And when you're entertaining, having them around your floral arrangement helps keep them off the table, just to let you know. But that trick with the pots is one of the things that I do. And most of these plants here that you're looking at are all annuals, and I do not overwinter those. I do tropicals. I'm going to try my hand at overwintering the silver plants in the garage just to see it, so I can let you know how that went, and or don't bother. But these warmer winters that we just particularly had, that made me want to. This is what I wanted to show you too. This is a whole basket of little coleus that I propagated myself. So I bought the original of these, and then I pinched them, put them in my pickle jars in the windowsill, you know, early, let's say March. And then I propagated them, and then I put them in these little pots, and now they're ready to go into other pots. So I feel really cool about maximizing my one coleus purchase on that and being able to put them around in other places in the garden. I think that's really fun. Oh, here's another one that we wrote about in Michigan Gardener. This is Silverstone, and it's Calicephalum. That's really cool too. So there's so many fun silver. So once you get out there and you start looking for silver, it'll amaze you. Over here is our goodbye benches. I'm going to show you this area in the courtyard garden here. And these are 2 benches from Central Park that we bought at an estate sale for our wedding anniversary one year. And we had them redone, and Eric built this nice limestone patio. And of course I was behind them with pots and annuals, and I have my pottery. And we do this every single year with a different planting each year. But one of my,
do you mind sitting down for a second on the bench and there's a couple of questions about the pots and your cinnamon.
okay, and I'm just going to show you this while I'm standing here. It's in my mind. 2 other plants I highly recommend for pottery, garden planting. One is the Lady Plymouth scented geranium. This is a beautiful leaf. It's not grown for the flower. It gets bigger and bigger. By August, it will be out to here. And this is Plectranthus right here. And this is just beautiful. It comes in different colors. But I like them because they fill out a pot. You get a lot of bang for your buck for your $4.95 or $5.95 pot. And it's a great way to make a smaller purchase turn into a very, very large pot. But animals do not eat either of those. They also don't eat salvia, but they do eat this type of plant. They do eat this type of plant, and they do eat this type of plant. So all of those get sprayed with my plant skid. So what I love are how many plants I don't have to spray versus how many I do. Okay, go ahead with your questions.
I see. Do you want to take them, Steve? Your microphone's off, Steve. Teresa's asking just a sprinkle of cinnamon, or how much per pot are you putting in?
Sprinkle, shake, shake, shake.
Okay.
That's about.
And what have you seen any effect on earwigs? Does it keep earwigs away?
Less. I have less at the end of the season. But you know, earwigs are earwigs. They're really on the sides of the pots, and they come in from the top, if you ask me, not the bottom. So what you can do is sprinkle that before you pull them up to do your planting to get them, you know, want to get out of there.
Okay.
So you're going to do it that weekend. Thursday, maybe sprinkle cinnamon over the top of your pot that you're going to pull out and do everything. And I think that will help you evacuate your earwigs.
Yeah, that's definitely
Good
bad year
Good.
for them.
You know, also I will show you this. I have to say, this is hardy oregano. We
I
have it
love
on our.
that stuff. I love that stuff.
That's such a wonderful, and animals do not eat this plant. You've got beautiful little flowers on it. It's so pretty. And I'm working on more information about how many plants there are that we can use in our world of gardening that they don't eat, so that it's just easier on us, you know. So this used to be lawn, 2 oak trees, and 5 blue spruce. Eric, the spruce died out. He put in the hedge, a beautiful majestic yew hedge down there. We still have the gorgeous oaks. And then we did courtyard beds, and we have his and her beds in this garden. We are equal opportunity of his and hers. And you can tell whose are whose in the garden. Mine are filled with perennials, and Eric's are filled with woodies and perennials, ground covers, and conifers. So there he is, right in his bed right now.
Wait, he was there when I saw him last. Has he been permanently in that place?
He's at you. Yep, he's right there. He is. And here's a wonderful dogwood, one of his that we love, that we saw in England at Blooms of Bressingham. And we brought these home, and they could fit in your purse. And they've grown up into these gorgeous little puckered, gorgeous cornice. So, Eric, what is the name of this dogwood?
Cornus sanguinea compressa.
Cornus sanguinea compressa is the name of that. And we have at least 2 in our yard, but they are just gorgeous. So I'm going to take you up a switchback path. Eric's going to come with me, so he's handy, and show you some plants along the way. So here's the hillside we're about to go up. This was all lawn and 9 mighty oaks. You can see how big these oaks are. And aren't we lucky that we get to garden under oaks? Because, you know, it's just, it's fantastic. We love it. As we go up the walk, here is a hardy begonia. And later on, you guys can email me with, or if you want to, about if there's not enough time to ask all the questions, what this hardy begonia grandis is. This is just coming up into bud. And this is a hardy fuchsia. You can see the fuchsia flowers coming on. Hardy fuchsia. Both plants have to be sprayed with a repellent. You can see a little shine on the leaves. That's what my repellent is once it's dried. And otherwise I would not. They're just pork chops out here, you know, on the grill. You can see these begonia leaves get bigger and bigger. That's the same begonia there. That's noteworthy. An umbrella plant that we love. We have several different types. And Eric, we leave the seed heads on. This is just the seed head, but that we think they're so pretty. This is a plant from Dan Hinckley, and it came from the Wulong Peninsula in China. And Dan Hinckley wrote about it and said that he'll never forget when he found this plant on the Wulong Peninsula. It was the day that he met the giant pandas there. So it's very memorable, and it's a ground cover that's hardy, that does not get scale. We've had it since 2008, and it kind of turns white during the winter, and then it evergreens back up again. But you can see the leaf. It's Wulong's ghost because of that white stripe down the leaf and the veins. It's a very handsome plant along. Here's some more hardy begonia in there. And so this is the switchback path. Off we go up the hill, and I'll just kind of show you both sides of the path as we go. I have many hellebores because animals do not eat them. And, look at the size of a hellebore. That's 4 feet wide, 4 feet. That's just one. So we're cutting back the leaves as soon as I can get out here comfortably in the garden. The leaves from last year. And so that when the flowers come up, it looks like this whole hillside are bouquets of hellebores. And they really stand out when you take off last year's leaves. I learned that from my mother-in-law, which shocked me when she first did it, and she cut all the leaves off really too early, I thought. And she was right on, and I've been doing it ever since. As usual, she's usually right. Okay, and I'm showing you macho fern in a pot right here. And if you're looking for a tropical fern to have on your lakefront or windy property, macho ferns are very strong and leathery and big. Okay, I'm getting mosquitoes in my eyes, so I'll keep moving. We have a big Solomon seal collection. For the most part, they do not eat our Solomon seals. Pachysandra safe, that's a variegated Pachysandra spilling over the walls. Here's a big crop of the begonia. And here is a climbing, they call it, Solomon seal. So I keep it inside a trellis, but you can see its leaves, the shape of them. It's just lovely. It really is pretty. This is from my friend Glenn Pace, a great plantsman from Clio that has garden walks in the spring because he has the most stellar and a remarkable spring garden. I collect ferns, and here is an exceptional, wonderful one. More of the begonia weaving through. That begonia is finally coming in. Now we've had the begonia. Julia Dingle and I bought begonias together at Steinkoff's in Farmington, I would say 17 years ago, 16 years ago. So they have been through the polar vortex of 2015 and 14 and all kinds of stuff. And they've come back just fine. Here's one called Crested Surf, more begonia. A very large Tricertus toad lily from Glenn. Gene Bush in Indiana. He's called the Expert Shea Gardener. That's his blog. And the browser. My favorite Astilbe of all, right here, Humula. It's very pretty and it blooms for 6 weeks. And nobody eats it, and it's drought tolerant, and it gives you flowers and color in the shade and a nice even ground cover. I highly recommend that. We all know Sun King, we love that. And here's another macho fern. We're coming up the hill. We come to, so I'm going back, Eric's back there pruning, cutting up sticks. And here's another side. So the whole idea of the switchback path was to have a front and a front. So of the bed. So it wasn't a front and a back of the bed, because when you go on the switchback and the next layer, that's the front. And so is the other. So from each side of these paths, there's a front. And so that you could see all the plants on each side. That was our concept of doing it. This tree right here, this mighty oak, was hit by lightning and cracked all the way down. And they told us just to keep the debris out of the crack and it would heal itself. And it has. It's doing fine. We're relieved by that. We love gardening under oaks. And so this is a mishmash of all kinds of ferns. And it hides the last little curve up these stairs to a secret lookout. So when you walk up the lookout, here's to your left. Couple of benches that I procured from endless amount of state sales that I go to. These are, besides the coleus and the fuchsias, tropicals that I overwinter every year. Most of them are sitting in pots. I do collect this kind of pottery right here. I'm gonna get down close so you can see it. Robinson rain bottom pottery. That's my favorite kind of old. It's very old fashioned. It was the first pots I bought for my mom and myself in the 80s. When I wasn't a buyer, I was working at Hudson's when it was Hudson's. And so you can see these ferns, but then look up and see that view of the front of our yard. So this was all lawn. We would always end up here on the top after the end of a garden walk, and we'd be looking straight downhill, and it would be tipsy because we were standing on a hill. And I kept saying, we need to have chairs up here, but it was a hill. So eventually, when we decided to do this garden on the hillside, we made a patio at the top of the hill, made it hidden so it doesn't look like you have a patio in the front yard, and also have a view. We've got it, we put these U's up for some privacy for both our neighbor behind us. Eric's got some arbs up there that he put in. And these are little seedlings of Japanese maples from my friend. But look at the view of the backyard from here. As you can see, the long border, the conifer collections, there's the house, and we'll go down that way right now. I do want to show you another ground cover that I would not garden without, and that is this hardy, it's a primrose that is a ground cover type. So these big, huge leaves are primrose. And I have it all over the garden. And we always have it at the Hardy Plant Society sale. Eric and I are heavily involved with the Hardy Plant Society, which takes place in Bloomfield Hills, September through May. And we have a sale in June. So we bring in a lot of plants from our garden to that sale each year as a fundraiser. You can see from here as we're coming down the hill, the sun coming through the dappled trees, and the red on the underside of the begonias. It is, that's what I didn't show you earlier. Look at that red. Every one of them. Look how big that one is. Even at the bottom, even the tiny little babies, they're red. So it's just a magnificent plant. And yes, I do have to spray it. And I don't know if I get in there enough that you can see some shiny spots on there. That is my spray after it has dried. So I spray them about every 2 weeks. And I spray often plants on whatever repellent you use on the undersides of the plants. My spray is a scent base, so they don't need to taste it. They don't need to see it. They just need to smell it. Vancouveria, a wonderful ground cover. Epimedium family member. This is a piece from our friend Seda Malarney and Judy Partridge. So that's not even for sale at the garden centers, but it's at sale at the Hardy Plant Society sale. Here we are coming to some heirloom plants. This is a gift. I love these and I do it myself. A weeping red bud from Nancy Zerlag for a birthday present to me one year. We went shopping together and we got that. And then this is a weeping red bud from the Steinkoff sisters, Beth and Lisa, for a housewarming gift. A wonderful Japanese maple from Don's Shadow Nursery, a memorial for my cat Prince from Goldner Walsh. Here's this little area. This bed was George from Telly's wrote an article in Michigan Gardener about species tulips, and that browsers tend to not eat them. So I was, right after I read that article, I went out and in this lawn, I laid down cardboard in the spot, moved the bird bath in, put stones around in a circle and filled it with soil. And I planted 22 different kinds of species tulips in there. And I found most of those at Downtown Home and Garden in Ann Arbor, who has the largest bulb selection. English Gardens has a very good bulb selection too. So you can kind of see the hillside in the background. Oh, here comes Eric. And in here, this is an Aster Izo Murasaki from Plant Delights Nursery, and it is a big moving aster, but it's the last plant in the garden to bloom every year. Spectacular purple, and it's beautiful. It's the tail end for the pollinators and for us as we close up the garden. Okay, now here, I'll just go along and show you this. I love this species. You can see, I'll get up close so you can see closer. It is, I'm walking in to this little hidden cove, but just to show you how pretty these little, the flowers never open up more than that. That's their total amount. And they look like little velvet burgundy buttons. Like
That's
old
a
fashioned.
rose, that's a rose of Sharon.
That's a rose of Sharon. And there you can see the variegation, but see, look at this true variegation. And I said to those guys the other day, the rose of Sharons you want to receive never do. It's always the ones that you don't. And here's Eric's rock garden that he made. And he made the troughs himself many, many years ago, over 20 years ago. But I'm just going to get down here and just show you these cute little sempervivums or vivums and sedums in the rocks. Eric, what kind of rock is this? He has no idea. Okay.
I know they call it either fossilized coral or weathered limestone. The ones that they have at the zoo like that.
Isn't that pretty? It's just really those nooks and crannies. So, and he built these. And then I'm going to have him take you through here. This is the conifer corner back here in the yard, and tell you a few things about this area.
Oh, a bonus.
So my thing is foliage, and it can be perennials, woodies, shrubs, trees, conifers, and I just like to enjoy the various textures and colors of foliage. So the garden you're seeing right now, the border you're seeing, looks this way 12 months a year, pretty much.
Besides the grasses.
You know, with all these different colors. The conifers, some of them change color a little bit in the winter, but pretty much this is what it looks like. So that's the advantage. And yes, there's too much yellow in it, but I love yellow foliage. And pretty much right now, it's just a plant laboratory. So I'm learning what yellow and gold varieties, you know, look really good. A color that I particularly enjoy in conifers, which is not all that common, is this sort of sea green. It's not yellow, it's not gold, and it's not green. It's just this very light, soft green. It's really cool. It's like a mint green, I guess some people might say. So
And you have some of those grasses that Ken Drews said, if it looks like it's already dead, I have to have it.
I absolutely love this grass. Just phenomenal. I can't wait to, I'm just learning about it, but I just love it. It's passed the test, and I can't wait to, wouldn't this be cool? Plunked next to blue foliage, blue conifer foliage. So, you know, that blue with these dusty browns around it, I think would just be spectacular.
And that's a sedge, right? I called it a grass, but it's a sedge.
Correct, carex. Yeah, it's red rooster. But it's proved. It's one of those zone 6 plants, but it's proved hardy for us at this point. So,
and the cats love it.
In the back there, we've all heard of green giants, and a plant that you just don't see in stores, unfortunately. But Monrovia found a sport on a green giant, a golden sport. And so these are, you know, green giant plants that are gold, and they're called, the trademark name, Monrovia, is Ember Waves.
Tell them how old they are.
Those would be about 10 years old. So They started as 4-inch high plants. We got them at a trade show, like when they were hot off the press. They were just getting released. We got them as a promotional item.
We carried them home in a tote bag.
Yeah, we pretty much put them in our pockets on the airplane, and they were so small. And so like a green, green giants grow 2.5 to 3 feet a year. These are a smidge slower, maybe 2 feet to 2.5 feet, just because probably less chlorophyll and all that. So, but if you like gold and you have a big area, it's just a spectacular plant. And the reason it's called waves is they get a little bit of a hint of an orange in the winter, just orange tips. Not that gross browning color, but a really nice, just a taste of orange.
It shows though how when you plant small, you have a chance of a plant really performing the way it should.
Yes.
And, I mean, it does make a difference. In
Yep.
10 years, that's impressive.
Yeah. No, I would encourage people to plant small. Janet, you drilled that into us through a couple articles in Michigan Gardener. Plant your plants small, plant them properly at the right height, spread out the roots, and stand back. That's much better than getting a plant that's 6 or 8 feet tall, that's been balled and burlapped and all that, and it's just going to sit there for 2 or 3 years. So anyway, I'm a firm believer. Plant it small, plant it well, and it'll do well.
Do you have to, do the deer like the green giants?
Do you know? No. I mean, we have got tons of green giants in the back. You're actually seeing green giants in the back there. I know it's hard to see, but they have never touched any of our green giants. We've got them in multiple locations. Now, we're a little bit of an interesting test because we have a few thousand plants here. So to say that they don't eat them on our property, well, they have, 2,999 other plants to eat. So it's not necessarily a controlled experiment, but they have never nibbled on our plants anywhere, and we've got tons of deer. So yeah, I think they're pretty resistant.
And we repel so much of the plants for buck rub season that they would be able to go there because they wouldn't be sprayed, but they don't. So I think that they don't browse them. And we've had them since 2008. We had one of the earliest ones around. They first were available in our area.
Viburnum lantana variifolium, and this is just a spectacular plant. A super vigorous grower, and it's just got the coolest variegated foliage. All kinds of different variegations on the foliage, and it looks spectacular. And it comes out in the spring. The foliage is, chartreusey, but it maintains. Most or a lot of plants lose their variegation throughout the year. This maintains this variegation throughout the season, and it has the lantana berries on it. But it's a vigorous grower. It grows a foot a year, and it's wonderful. So probably a little tricky to find, but great plant. Come to the Hardy Plant Society plant sale. We have them for sale because it always throws up little offshoots, and every year or two I try to dig those up and pot them up for folks at the plant sale.
And the Hardy Plant Society meets on Mondays on which Monday of the month?
It's usually the first Monday of the month, first or second, depending on holidays and all that. But yeah, Hardy Plant Society meets at Woodward and Cranbrook. And it's the first Monday of the month, September through April. And then we have a plant sale in early June.
We have a Facebook page and but not a website. So you can find us on Facebook and get the information on our meetings. So this is our long border, and it comes in and out of bloom. And one of the plants that I like to feature and plant a flat of are the tall ageratum, blue horizon. I put them all the way through the whole garden. And by the end of the summer, they look like bushes, and they're filled with blue flower, and animals do not browse those. So as the garden goes in and out of color, in comes the horizon, keeps it going. I did want to show you this. This is a hardy Ostromeria right here called Inca Ice. And that's been in the garden for over 12 years. So you can see how it's growing. It comes up through a little bit of my anemone and my mums. I'm a big mum collector. I'll have hundreds and hundreds of mums in the fall for a fall show. Just my own love of. Also, I'm a big lily collector, and you know the state of lilies right now. That's an example of lily beetle damage on the leaves. But MSU is working diligently on a wasp that is a predator for the larvae of the lily beetle. And the Lily Society, our local Michigan Regional Lily Society, who has a show and sale every year, they're working on this program with them. So we're moving forward on lily beetles and not going to let them take over the world. Here's more of a conifer area of Eric's. And oh, one thing, we have many, many hydrangeas in the garden, but we want to point out just the leaf of this back here, the color of this golden leaf.
This is oak leaf hydrangea, little honey.
Yeah, both Eric and I, because we're so different in our plant choices that we love and the kinds of plants, the one common denominator that we have is that we love chartreuse plants. Both of us do. We have them throughout the whole garden. But look for that. If you see it, it is grown for the foliage, even though there is really pretty little flowers on it. But it's all about the foliage. And in the fall, burgundy and pink and red and just gorgeous for fall color. Really, really pretty. You can see the green giants here. The back hedge is green giants. There's Alaskan cedars behind those. And Eric's got some interesting plants to tell you about here.
I'd be breaking up just a little bit, so you might be on the far side of your
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, I was too far away from him.
Unfortunately, this is in the sun. Can you see that plant okay?
I see a gold leafed, is it a larch or?
No, you're never going to guess what this is. Well, so you can see it okay.
It's in the
Yes.
sun.
Okay. So this is an interesting experiment, and I'd like to think I'm contributing. You'll get a kick out of this, Janet. So this, if anybody that's familiar with Toria. So Toria is what we native to Florida, they thought, and it's going extinct down there. And there's actually a group, a well-organized, long-standing group called the Toria Guardians that's trying to save Toria from going extinct. And a very knowledgeable nurseryman in Ohio gave me a couple, again, 4-inch pots of Toria seedlings. And he said, try these, grow these in your garden. I said, are you kidding? This is like a zone 8 or 9 plant. And he said, no, the books are wrong. He goes, it's not a zone 8 or 9. He goes, it's hardier up north than the books say. So this plant is about 5 years old, and it's Toria taxifolia. So taxus, you know, it has taxus-like look. And it is just spectacular. I love it for a couple reasons. One, I'm pretty sure it's been deer resistant. And one of the reasons why, so like in the shade, you can really see the beauty of the needles. These are sharp needles. So I think that might contribute to its deer resistance. And in terms of sharpness, it would be 1 notch sharper than blue spruce. And we know spruce is prickly foliage. This is a little sharper than that, but not so much so like a barberry or a rose, you know, to be dangerous. But and the other reason I like it is that it's kind of has this cycad look to it. So it's very different. And I think it's exciting that possibly it might be hardy for us up here. And who knows where this is going to go? I mean, you know, could it be a hedge someday for us up here in the north, a deer-resistant hedge? I don't know. It grows about 8 to 12 inches a year, depending on the winter. Now, in terms of the winter hardiness, it's survived -2 or -3 for 1 night. and it's had a few nights of maybe low single digits. So, can it survive a polar vortex? We'll find out. We'll find out. So, occasionally, like when it gets like that -2 or -3, some of the new tips got singed, but the plant's so vigorous it just blows right through that in the spring. It grows right along. So that just disappears. So anyway, I think that's a pretty neat thing that you're not going to see in many places.
I guess not. I think your garden is full of things that people aren't gonna see in many places.
There's one, I did want to show you this little Nautia, Knautia.
Oh, yeah, we have that one. Isn't it a gorgeous plant?
Wait,
Yeah,
that looks like, it looks like a sanguisorba, little
It is a-
angel,
I just got corrected. It is Sanguisorba.
little angel, right? Yeah, it's a
Look at all
very
the
sweet plant.
flowers. And Eric likes smaller plants like that as ground covers for his conifers. I wanted to show you, I put benches throughout the garden. For Sudan, there's one. And also an important plant here. Here is Rose of Sharon.
While you're
that we
at
cut-
Sharon, what is the name of the variety that the flowers stay in the deep red buds?
I'm going to have to think about it. So it is really blue chiffon. Yeah, it's blue chiffon.
Oh, I'm
And-
thinking of the other one. A while back, there was a question when you were at the Rose of Sharon, the variegated one that the flowers don't open all the way, but stay in the little red.
We'll have to look that up for you. It's
Okay,
well,
okay.
Eric's, but okay, Eric, go ahead and give them the name.
The variegated Rose of Sharon is Hibiscus syriacus purpureus variegatus.
Purpureus variegatus. So they named it for the purpleness of the buds and the variegated leaf, but not for that it doesn't open. That's cool.
Exactly.
Stands out from across the yard.
Yes, it does. And so does this forsythia right here, which you could see from the top of the hill. The forsythia is a golden leafed forsythia, just called gold leaf forsythia. So when I get in close, you can see that there it is. Its growth is like that. And it always looks like it's in flower. So we love this plant and we have it in several places. We always have it at the sale. But to the right, I wanted to show you my Musabaju, Basjoo. This is a hardy banana that's been here since 2012. I planted it 1 foot from the foundation of our house. And every year I cut it down to about 3 feet tall and take the leaves away and then put oak leaves over at the base of them, and those sticks, the stems stay up. Memorial Day every year, I take off all the mulch, and within a half an hour, the first little tiny blip is coming up, and it's ready to go. It's amazing wonder. And see the back of the house. Sometimes it's gotten up to that bathroom window, all the way up to that. Sometimes it's got halfway up. Sometimes it never got over that blonde colored wood. But every year it depends on the heat of the summer and the amount of rain, because this 1 acre garden with 1,000 plants, thousands of plants, we do not have irrigation. So we're loving this year. We are loving this year. Here's some specialty grower plants from Karen Bovio Specialty Growers. This is just a beautiful Heliopsis. But I did want to show you this banana again from here, just with the, this is the view from the patio I love. And I've got many phlox coming up now. A really nice, I don't know if you all know about a tall Coreopsis right here. This will eventually be I'm 5'9", probably to the top of my head, covered in yellow flowers for 2 months. And animals so far have not browsed it. And that I found at Karen's. And let's see, I'm just going to show you one more thing before we wrap up. But this is a most asked about plant right here, this Rose of Sharon. It is a reseeder of the worst kind. Okay, I'll move on. How about this? Are we in a better area?
No,
We're
it's
we're still breaking up, and we have about 5 minutes left that we did promise people to do some questions. So why don't you sit in your hummingbird highway here
Okay.
and you can answer the question of what do you do with these pots over the winter?
Are you able to see it?
Yes, we can.
Take you around. This is the parking area of our driveway. And instead of the cars, I'll just sit here on this bench and show you what it looks like. So there's Eric, there's the garage. And this is where our cars are normally parked. But I take it over and make this hummingbird highway where I can sit on that bench right there. And each garden has its own little theme here. I mean, you could just, it's just something. I had so much fun. I've never gardened with zinnias before. I have a hollyhock here and lots of salvias, gomphrenias, you name it. Along here, I did a burgundy and gold theme here. This is our vegetable garden, and here in a trough. Oh, there's a tomato. I'm pretty proud of that tomato. And over here, got a new bench, and it's over 200 years old from an auction. I couldn't believe it. Can't hardly budget. It's iron. And those are ferns. If I get up close, you can see the ferns on it. Look at Eric's conifers and behind this. And then this is from an old estate, this Pierre Poodle. And you can tell I get around and I do my fair share of shopping. Those little area over there guides us back to the fernery. But here's a little area here. I have lots of elephant ears that I overwinter right in their pots. So right down in the pot that I have it in, I have it sitting like that in the pot so that I can keep it, pull it out in the winter, and I overwinter it right in that pot down our basement for the whole winter. All of them stay. I put plastic pots. Sometimes I put them inside a more decorative pot, but at the end of the season, I take everything out. It goes in plastic. I leave the leaves up. I learned this by, I have to tell you the name of the book. She was so good about how to overwinter tropicals. It's the best book I've ever read on it. Look at this new Kupfia. It's a red one. And look at this face. I'm going to hold it up. Get in here. So it's not too close. It's got a little face on it and ears. It's so cute. They're very cute.
That is cute.
So cute. But red, that's unusual. And this is another Kupfia. Look at this. These are cousins right here. Look at the range. But this is top drawer choice for Hummers. They love these Kupfias. Cigar plant, the orange ones, you've seen them. Villian, what is it called? Vermilion. No, millionaire, billionaire. Well, it's a winners. That orange one, there's a really just unbelievably orange plant that like this with these tubes, and that is the Hummer's favorite. That's on the back patio. Look at Eric's. I'm gonna have him finish up here, and I'll just go along my back here just to show you. So we just sit here and have coffee. We sit here and have wine. And this is a shade area at the end of the day and the shade in the morning. So it's a real nice area for us to sit. And we thoroughly enjoy this. And so do garden visitors. And that is my...
How refreshing to have somebody admit that we don't really use the garage anyway. We don't need the space to park outside by the garage. We'll just use it for another extension of the garden.
That's right. And Eric's going to show you this area right here. It's so pretty.
This is a fabulous Dawn Redwood. So we know Dawn Redwoods get massive. This one is a slow grower, maybe 4 to 6 inches a year. And so this plant is probably 12 years old. And again, it shows you that sea green color that I think is just spectacular. So you've got traditional yellow there, and then you've got green down there, and you can see this sea green in between. This is a wonderful plant. So it's Metasequoia Sherman's Nordlicht. That is the official name of it, and that's a German name. It was found in Germany. And they're not supposed to translate names, but it's getting renamed here. You'll see it possibly in garden centers as Northlight. So Northlight.
Does it color in the fall?
Not so much. I shouldn't say a little bit.
It does a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. Continuing our gold theme, this is Corylopsis Gold Spring. And
Called winter hazel, right? Winter hazel?
winter hazel. So we all heard of witch hazel. This is winter hazel. Corylopsis spicata Gold Spring. This would definitely be a mail order situation. I've never seen this in a store, but spectacular. And again, even though the name is Gold Spring, it stays pretty nice throughout the year.
Stand here and show that. That shows how big it is. That's one heck of a koa.
This is Hakona Cloa Sunflare. I don't really know if it's that much different than all gold. But
Here, I'm going to stand here so you can do the size mark.
I have noticed that all gold is bigger than just the variegated tradition.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've already said this, Janet, but people should know that as much as you got the Hakona Cloa Aureola, which is the waterfall one that's variegated. Everybody loves it. Fabulous plant. If you've got it, it really shines in an elevated position where it can waterfall and cascade down. The one problem that frustrates everybody is that it's very, very slow. And however, all gold, so Hakona Cloa all gold, totally different plant. It has a little bit of a waterfall effect, but it grows more like a traditional perennial, much more vigorous, and it grows in a kind of more of a spherical, equidistant or equilateral shape. It grows in a perfect circle, like a traditional perennial. And this one happens to be called Sunflare. I don't know if it's really that much different than all gold. I haven't really noticed that.
I think it's a bigger, more vigorous plant myself.
Well, it's vigorous in this situation because it has super rich, moist, constantly moist soil. So it's a great, fabulous plant. Another plant that you're not going to see in a lot of places.
I met that at Missouri Botanical Gardens, and I've wanted it ever since, but it does need that moisture.
Well, we've got it in two positions. So this is I'm sorry, I don't mean to be a snob. I'm no good on common names. I think this is Japanese false hydrangea, but it's Denanthe, and this one is Cerulean, as in blue. Cerulean blue means blue, and so all these white spent flowers were blue. But you don't get this plant for the flowers. You get this plant for the foliage. The foliage is just spectacular.
That looks like a little hydrangea. All right, two more to show.
So anyway, this grows in conditions very similar to hydrangeas, but it's a spectacular plant. So there's Denanthe Cerulean and then Denanthe bifida. Bifida as in bifurcated. It's got two-part leaves, and those leaves are spectacular also. And then an outstanding, one of my most underused plants, and you can see how it shines next to green foliage, is this St. John's wort, Hypericum, that grows as a ground cover. It only gets 10 inches, maybe 12 inches tall, and it's got these beautiful lemony colored leaves all season long. It's absolutely spectacular. And I would say it grows just a smidge faster than Pachysandra in terms of the speed. So it's a good speed. Not too aggressive. If it starts to invade other plants, you just, yank it out. And then lastly in this bed, another spectacular ground cover that you're not going to see is this. And that is Beesia. Beesia. wonderful plant. We've had it here about 4 years and it's been tougher than nails. I divided it super late last year, like late October, early November, and tried it in another spot, and it looks spectacular this year, just 10 months later. So it's a beautiful plant with shiny, naturally shiny leaves, and it's tough too. So it passed the super late division test, and it's growing in that next spot just really well.
Thank you very much, you guys. This is
Yes.
and we could go on for another hour easily. In fact, people have already asked, we want to see more. But we did promise people that we'd be done by 8, and we've already lost one person who says, oh, I hate to have to leave.
2. Greg had to leave too.
Yeah, okay.
Or one more, that's all. That's the first.
It's just, you're just like a fisherman. One more cast.
One
Well,
more, yeah. Oh, but this is a plant that the animals do not eat. It's variegated and it likes dark shade. There it is in the back, and shade, which is hard to find variegation in shade.
You can find that one at Broken Arrow Nursery. It's a Acanthopanax something variegata, right?
No, this is a Eleutherococcus, which is
okay.
the rail that is variegated. So there's a Ralia that's not variegated, but this is the variegated version. And so it's a 5-leaf Deralia, and it's so variegated. So we planted 2 more back here at the back of the fernery to light up the back there and fill that whole area with red buds. We're under mighty Norways.
It does have thorns, right?
It does have thorns,
Yeah.
and but I'm just letting it do its Dr. Seuss thing here, wherever it wants to grow. That's one plant. And I love the weirdness of it. Now I could trim it into a meatball or something more upright and columnar. You could do anything with it. But I just wanted to see what it would do. And it's filling space with brightness in this area. So it's really, really pretty. And that is one for you people in deer country, where we're looking for, and also people in shade looking for something dramatic. This is worth it. You can buy a small one and they grow pretty darn quick. And, I bought it at Goldner Walsh right when I was leaving. And this is one of the ones that I bought. Julia Dingle and I both bought them on the same day. And we both live in deer country in different areas of Metro Detroit. Okay, that wraps it up. You've got to see the whole garden pretty much. And
Thank you, Julia.
we're so grateful to show you.
You're just wonderful to have taken the time to do this. And I think we covered all the questions as they went along, unless you saw some I didn't see, Steve. There were questions about plant names, and we were trying to keep up with those as we went along. And I'm sure there'll be more. There's a request will Julia make a list of her favorite chartreuse foliage plants? And I said, well, we'll ask, but we're not going to ask you to do anything extra right now. We've already taken so much of your time. And I know that you have all that work to do out in the garden. The one question that I didn't see asked, but I can hear being asked, is, do you do this gardening yourself, you and Eric?
Yes, we do.
Yes, they do.
On occasion, we bring in somebody to help us weed, but not often enough, that's for sure.
Well, you got to have somebody trained to weed. And if you can't find the same person, it could be real challenge, because you have so many plants that, oh man, I shouldn't have pulled that one.
Yeah, that's right. But you know what? When we do bring them in, we sit down with them in the particular bed and show them exactly what to weed.
Yep.
They do.
Give them 2 or 3 to work with. Don't just say weed the bed. Say, here, find X, Y, and Z and get rid of those.
Check back.
Variegated hydrangea, mountain hydrangea, serrata, Owamacha, nishiki. Superb.
Very
Does
pretty.
it bloom for you, or are you using it just for the foliage?
Just for the foliage. Any blooms are just grow it for the foliage. It looks just like that all year long. Fabulous.
That's great. We will let you go and ask this wonderful audience that's been with us this whole hour for any comments that you want to give. You can put in the chat as you leave or send us an email. If this is the kind of thing that you want to see more of, then we can do more of this. But if we missed a lot of questions that you were burning to ask, then we'll get a little different take on it. Thank you. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Eric. Look at that.
Thank you. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks for
Thank
joining
you
us.
all.